Good morning, everyone. Welcome to San Diego Design Week Day 2. This is the second iteration of Layers of San Diego Landscape Modeling with Lasers and CNCs. Our host today is Aaron Cover. Hello, Aaron.
Hello. All right, are we ready to go?
Yes, just a reminder that this event is being recorded.
Okay. I'm Aaron Cover. I think we're all here to see this monster project behind me. Just a little background about myself. I'm from the rural Midwest Indiana, where it's very flat. I have background education in computer programming, also technical graphics, which includes old school drafting. And following college, I went to Dallas, where it is also very flat. And worked for several years as a user experience designer, focusing a lot on web through the .com boom and bust. And around that time, I started remodeling homes, a lot just out of necessity of you can't afford to do something, so you have to learn to do it yourself. So I've always had that mentality. After that, I moved out to San Diego, where it is not flat. We've got some great mountains, ocean, a lot of hills. There's a lot to see and do here. And that was the basis for my inspiration for creating this. I do quite a bit of hiking and rock climbing, both indoor and out. So I'm frequently up on like El Cajon Mountain or out in Mission Gorge. And you get up to the top where I'm hanging off a cliff and looking over, and of course you look back at the city and try to see the ocean, and it's just always so exciting, and it's just very peaceful. So I had seen a lot of other designers put together some type of topographical map from lasers, but I wasn't seeing anything really on such a large scale. And with Google Maps and other apps, when you start zooming out, you lose all the detail. And I wanted to keep that. So I had to figure out how I was going to accommodate both of those and create a map and figure out how to frame it and design it. And so that led me into I had to go collect the data, the map information, and that turned out to be a bit more difficult than I expected. A lot of the maps don't match up. I think maybe you might be familiar with all the different world maps and different views, how it unfolds. It translates down to locally as well. So there was a lot of adjustment, getting borders to match up. Some information was missing. Streets in, say, Coronado, I had to go to military sites. So I had to look, I got a lot of information off of flood maps and contour maps, elevation, bathymetry for the ocean. And I started piecing this all together, and I can show you really quickly a clip of that process. So this is the beginning of the layout, and you can see those rainbow images. That's some flood maps, and I had to start overlaying them. And then I had to figure out how was I going to frame this out where it's also aesthetically pleasing and not just informational. And as once I started centering in on San Diego and the coastline and all the popular areas of interest, it became apparent this was going to be kind of a three-panel project, with ocean being one, and then land, and then mountain. So this is the configuration I ended up with. I had a few alternates that I might explore in the future. I really wanted to get the border in to Mexico. It didn't work out without making this any larger. So, all right. From there, once I figured that out, then I had to, I knew I wanted a gradation of color, obviously something representative of the water and the land and mountains. And I knew I was going to have to make gradations from this by hand from just a few different water-based dyes. And I think you saw that I figured that out and got it laid out for the most part. Then became the, I'm gonna roll the top a little closer about this. Fingers crossed this doesn't fall out. Okay. Now I can't get back in. How is that? Is that better? Or okay, it looks like it's, well, it's following me, so I'm gonna go behind here. All right. So what I had to do is there were two different ways. I'm gonna peek up over here that I was well, two different techniques I needed to use to create this. One is with the large scale CNC, and that was to create these large pieces here. My laser, also you can see in a second, is it's much smaller, and it just could not accommodate this without putting in seams, which I didn't want. So about a year or so ago, during quarantine, I acquired a large vertical CNC machine, and that's my workshop. I'll show you a clip of that when I come back around. And I had also gotten a laser a couple years prior, and the laser is great for all the small detail work. And I also decided I want to engrave all the street system in here and the road maps. They naturally disappear into the mountains, so I decided just engrave this middle panel. Also going to dark colors, it just wasn't going to show. Show you these devices. Push this back. Oh. Oh. Okay. Obviously, weight was going to be a factor, and I'll get to that in a minute. So over here, I have I keep a laser in my closet. This is an old craftsman home. This was a bedroom I converted into an office. So this is nice. It can be a bit noisy. I'm able to close the door. Safety wise, there's I have a multiple filtration system. It's going outside through a hole in the wall into what's called a fume coffin. And basically that ends in kind of a cylindrical, I think they're used for greenhouses, a charcoal filter, and that's sitting inside another box with another charcoal filter. And then whatever remaining fumes come out, I have projected straight up into the air. So it works like anybody's chimney or barbecue. There's very, very occasional smell. So obviously my neighbors had concerns, so I had to address that. For the CNC, I can show you a little video clip here. And this will have some audio, so you'll get to experience being in there with it. Oh, that's, well, that's not, hold on a second. Is everyone able to see that?
We are only able to view your
Oh.
files.
Yeah. This is Are you able to see now?
Not quite. We only are able to see your thumbnail, but maybe if you show us your previous image so we can get a little bit of an idea of what the scale is, just in case the video is not running.
Are you able to see that?
No.
We're just seeing your Finder window.
Still nothing.
No, I wonder if you're able to toggle with everything open, as opposed to trying to open each one of them individually.
Sorry, bear with me. I think it might have something to do with the sharing options.
Okay, why don't you go with images so far? That was working just a second ago.
It won't even show up now.
Oh,
Don't know why. Try this a little differently. How about that?
okay, I think it might work. Press play. Yes, it's working.
Okay. You can see this is literally cutting out these ocean pieces over here. So that's just to give you an idea of the scale. So that's able to work on 4x8 sheets of just about anything. And since it's a router, I'm not limited to safety issues with lasering material, because obviously some things will be toxic and I don't want to create chlorine gas in my closet. So that's how that works. And how these get cut out is there's different software, obviously, for each. You can see on the laptop, it's pretty simple CNC software. So once I've laid out each piece, it's just arranging it so it can cut them out on the sheet. Then the software decides where to begin and end with each piece. And then if you can, probably kind of hard to see, it leaves little notches left so the pieces don't fall out when it's finished and moving on. It seems like it moves pretty slow, but it's actually a pretty quick process. And it's also able to do some 3D applications. I've not gotten around to doing anything with that. I have a lot of projects for this in the future, but with material cost and scarcity lately, they're kind of on the back burner. Okay. So once I had all those pieces, obviously it was going to be a lot of organization. There are over, I think, 30 layers total. And speaking about the layers, So one thing I had to do in thinking about the weight is starting from ocean depth 0 here to 30 layers higher over here. And if each panel was solid across, or each layer, this would be about this thick. So with each panel, I reset back to a different background. So this second to top layer ends up being the bottom for this. By color coding here, this one becomes the bottom for this, and so on. So that was one way I was able to mitigate the size and the weight. And when I was laying these out, sample here. So you can see this is the piece with Point Loma, if you're familiar with the area. And to be able to find where these would go, each layer I would score the next piece placement for it. So it's very easier. If I can be able to see here, like right here, there's a score mark, and that's this piece right here. So I'm able to line that up once I've dyed it and glued it, and everything lines up. And piecing it, oh, sorry.
So sorry about that. The camera was just panning over to your face, and we couldn't really
Oh,
see.
yeah. Worried that was going to be a problem.
Take a step back.
Great new camera, but
It's doing its job though.
Okay. So I'm going to put this in front of my face if I can. So there's, if you can see the score mark there for, it's all backwards. Like this piece here, because these are kind of unique. Once you get into all these squigglies, it can get really confusing. So I'm able to, everything backwards. Match these up. So this fits in here, and so forth. So that's how that all fits together. A lot of it you can determine just by the large highways and waterways and different geological formations. And that kind of leads into, so with the CNC, it was great. I had large pieces, and there was not much figuring out where those had to go because they're left and right aligned. But with the laser pieces, since I was limited to about 10 by 18 inches on what I could produce at one time, I had to figure out how am I going to piece these together without having seams. And the natural conclusion ended up being through the waterways, that's I think Mission Valley River, and some other parts. So and a lot of the seams I was able to hide under other levels. So I had to do a lot of thinking ahead of time on how that was going to work out, particularly in this area. Once I got into the mountains, lot smaller pieces, but also a lot more pieces. I also started just labeling, labeling for each layer. I think I called this, I just went with land as ground zero and worked upwards, and then I went into the negatives going down into the ocean, just so I could kind of keep track of which way I was going with the pieces. The color choices, obviously blue for water. As we get deeper in water, it gets darker. That was just a natural conclusion there. I wanted to go with natural. All this material, by the way, is a Baltic birch 3 millimeters plywood. So this is the natural look of that. These are as well. You can see that the back, it's just a light wood color. So it takes different stain colors really easily and well. So I wanted kind of a sandy beach type, and then getting to the darker mountains. As you go out, we do have probably more reds I was trying to keep more of a muted color palette overall, so I just went darker. And then up into the mountains where you're going to have some snow, I went to a lighter gray. So any questions so far before I get too far ahead?
I'm gonna come up with one. Well, you answered the material question, which was good. I'll let you keep going, but you're inspiring a lot of questions. But mine are more general than specific to the construction. So keep going through that. It's maybe Chris has one.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you looked into coloring some of the lakes blue too, or what challenges the lakes might have presented since they're like, water, but on land.
I looked into that. That was an aesthetic choice I made. I just wanted more of an overall gradation. I had laid it out and it kind of looked like mistakes in this type of design. So I just decided to leave it out for aesthetic reasons. The initial point of why I created this was actually, I have a 2 carport car garage. I have a kind of a multi-unit property. One is my workshop, which you just saw, and the other is an Airbnb. And I wanted something more personal for when guests come to visit, to see where they are. I don't think I really addressed, I wanted something more tactile as well, that people can see. And obviously putting in the streets, you're really able to kind of determine where you are. And a lot of people go hiking or sailing, and they can kind of think about where they're going. And it's just a nice companion piece. I think it came out probably a little much now for the Airbnb. It became something bigger. So I probably won't put it in there now. It's been a lot of work, and I don't know if I want strangers touching it on the wall. So if it were to fall off, the mountain piece alone is probably over 20 pounds. Another way I was able to mitigate the weight, so with these pieces again, so in scoring what was coming next, I was able to trim off what wasn't going to be needed, but just enough so there'd be support for the next piece. And then just to be material efficient, all these leftover scraps that got cut out, I would keep those, and those are all hidden back under all these layers. There's a lot of holes, but there has to be support for the mountaintop. So I was able to kind of reuse a lot of that and support it, but try to keep some of the weight off. They're still pretty heavy.
Aaron,
Yes.
What adhesive glue did you use to connect these? Just out of curiosity, was it wood glue? And one
yes.
question, and if would you ever consider doing another one of these on commission if you were asked?
Oh, absolutely. Now that I've got the process down, that was the hardest part. Obviously, the production it can be lengthy, but a lot of this is one thing I didn't really talk about is so I masked all these pieces with like a transfer paper, so it keeps a lot of the scorching off, so I don't have to do a lot of sanding. But then there's the peeling of it off after. And when there's all the engraving and you've got all these little tiny pieces that didn't get hit, what I do there is just duct tape, just pull it, rip it off, and it takes a lot of those little pieces, and then a light sanding kind of gets the rest off. So that's a lot of production work, but that's something you could just kind of sit down in front of the TV and just be doing mindlessly. For the glue, I can show you. Here. All right. Yeah, this is exactly what I found. Titebond makes a translucent wood glue. So even if like a little kind of seeped out, it dries clear, and it's inapparent. But usually it's just like any glue. It's kind of that creamy color to start with, so you're able to clean up if it gets out of hand. Took quite a bit of glue, probably about 4 of these bottles. It's like 8 ounces. So,
And if you were to start over again and do another one, what would you do differently than now that you've learned the process? Would you repeat exactly the same process, or would you use different material, different scale? What would you learn that you would take into account if you did it over?
well, first of all, I know which websites to go to get the best information that's usable. There is just, that took quite a bit of time because some of these government sites they're old, they're hard to navigate. And
But I was thinking more in the execution. You were usually, sometimes when you embark on something like that, you're committed and you have to complete it with the same nomenclature and process you started with. And now you had a fresh new start. I just wanted to know if you changed material, scale, coloration.
I don't think I've changed materials. I've worked with this a lot. It's really common with laser work, and I can show you some other stuff in a bit that I use it for, especially because it takes colors very easily. But still keeps a nice wood grain finish, which most people still like to see. I kind of refined the process as I went through this because it took several months.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good.
There's always room for improvement, and I'm sure I'll figure something out. But
I think the fact that you're not clear on what you would do tells me the answer, that you're pretty happy with the process and you'd probably use it again. So thanks. Continue on.
okay, scale. I actually really like the scale. It's impractical for my home because it is small rooms with a craftsman. Every wall has either a door or a window, so something like this I can't really display here. But I would love to do this. I could see doing this for like a hotel lobby or some like a company lobby or something like that. One reason I did like this particular one is because I wanted to go from ocean to mountain, and San Diego is really unique that way, in that we do have this wide range of topography to work with. And I know there's other spots in the US, but it's going to be coastal but not necessarily mountainous as well. Obviously I had to be able to reach the mountains, but I wanted over here, I had to reach out into the ocean. And it was just aesthetically, I played with a lot of different framings of how this would play out. And I just ultimately decided this was gonna work out the best, like basically, so the blues and then the browns and then more blacks to gray, but with a transition. And then I just went with a gray frame because I couldn't figure out anything else that would work. So that was the assembly. I don't think I've missed anything. Talked about the weight considerations. I haven't decided. I haven't done a top coat on it. I'm still. I want something that is not going to show. I don't want to put a shine on it, so I'm looking around for a nice matte finish before I take this out and have people touch it. You know, one spill and it's all over. So that is this. I can wheel it up if because I understood yesterday it was hard to see some of the details. Would you prefer if I pulled it back up closer again?
Yeah, we can pull it back up just to get a little bit more of the detail, but we're getting a pretty good view of from it.
Okay, it's about as far as I can go. have room to come back around. I can go on this. If it's tracking me, I can't see. So I'll just stay back here in case it is. I try to what here to kind of highlight, you know, the depth. This would probably help. So it can be a little difficult to light, especially 3 pieces. I'm on the south side and west side, but thank you very much. Is this helping? I can't see.
No, I think we get an idea of how the layers work out within
Alright.
themselves.
This back so I can get back up there.
Aaron,
Yes.
hey, in terms of scale, like, you know, San Diego, you could totally tell, but like how far west into the ocean did you go? And how far east are you in the mountains?
So you can see this is pretty much to the edge where it all just drops off.
So like Buckman Springs, Alpine, past Alpine into, what is it? Hakumba?
Boy, yeah, I think Alpine, it's just kind of past the mountain range. So this is
Yeah.
mainly.
So you're literally talking like Borrego Springs going into El Centro,
Yes.
right? Okay, yeah, because if you've done that drive to like Yuma or Phoenix and you're driving 8 east, you go all through those canyons up and down Devil's Canyon, you'll see a tower up at the top. That's Hakumba. So you went all the way out there, all the way towards the desert. So it's like pretty much all
Yeah.
of San Diego County.
Yeah, you can see this gets suddenly just very flat. And then to balance it out, I can't think there's shoot, I've only worked with this for 3 months. I forget what this is called. So once you get out into the ocean, we have basically a huge drop off. And
Yeah,
lot
there's
of
a
it comes
trench.
down-
Like for Black's Beach, that's what we use to jack up the wave size. Yeah, in
Oh.
Black's Beach, there's trenches that are outside La Jolla. So when the waves hit that and it goes into the trench, it doubles up the size of the wave. So we love that. As a surfer, we love that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be up in here.
Yeah.
So it's there were some details like I think when you come out a little further and a little further down that were really interesting, but without taking this further and going larger, I just had to make some hard decisions on that.
Okay. So my final 2 questions, like in terms of scale, I mean, I could tell it's pretty wide, but how tall is it exactly? Each frame, I should say.
Without the frames, each panel is 20 by 30.
20 by 30. Okay.
And then add like 1.5 inches for the frame. So I initially planned on 24 by 36. And even though that's just a few more inches, it actually just added a lot. And
Right.
this kept it to a nice large scale without getting too crazy. Because obviously I have limited working space.
Yeah, that closet is unreal. And the last bit of question I have is, I think by looking in your closet, the equipment, the laser that you use, is that the Glowforge?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted I have a diode, so I was just curious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have ambitions to get a larger machine.
Okay.
Got a spot for it right over here, but that's kind of been put on the back burner. There's a lot in motion before COVID that kind of got put on hold, and that was one thing. But
No, it's still grand. So awesome job. Thank you so much for presenting.
oh, no problem. I had requests to show some other things that can be done.
Aaron, before you change,
Oh, sure.
I've got to step off, sorry. But a few of us on this call, Chris and Angela, as well, are part of a group called AIGA, American Institute of Graphic Arts. And we're part of the World Design Capital, which is 2024. San Diego, Tijuana have joined to present our region on a global scale through design. And I'm just looking at this and cogitating how it might play into that. It's a longer discussion as to what's involved, but I could see a larger scale, and I could see it going horizontally where it's actually including San Diego North County and the Tijuana region as well, to accentuate how those two things are related. I don't know, but it's one reason why I decided to watch what you're doing and just see how we might incorporate it. So maybe we'll circle back to you if we have more thoughts on how we could do that.
Oh, sure. When I was initially brainstorming this, one thing I did think about was in a horizontal capacity, and also doing an elevation of downtown and the skyscrapers. You can see over here, I've got a 3D printer, so I can just render those out. And if this, I didn't think being vertical like this, it was really gonna make any kind of impact. It would just look like things sticking out. But when it's would have laid down, I think it would have more effect. But also on this scale, I mean, the buildings would be just, there wouldn't be much. I don't think it would.
When I meant vertical, it's more just what part of the geography you selected more than displaying it that way.
Oh, so more like just coastline.
Going south of the border into Mexico.
Oh, sure. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to step off. Thank you so much. I have to go to something else.
Aaron, I had another question about the scale that you use. Like, is it like a 1 to 1,000 or whatever? Like, is it an actual, ratio, or did you have to kind of also like exaggerate some of the scale, or maybe even reduce it?
It's not a nice even number, like 1 to 1,000. I could find that out for you, but it's actually, everything is as proportional as I could keep it.
Awesome.
Then laser and router tolerance. I'm sure there's probably some error, but also again, some of these maps just did not match up. It was a little frustrating and a little scary to think that that's what we're working with around here.
And then my other question is, did you find any maybe mountains or valleys or something that you wanted to explore that you didn't even know existed after working so deeply with the landscape?
I think so. I'd like to maybe explore up in here. I've been around through most of this. So it's, you can see this is the 8 coming through, and then you're going to have Mission Gorge. Been some hikes here, and but coming further out, that's more of a longer day trip than I usually do. So that would be probably a weekend kind of adventure to venture out to here. I actually don't go out in the ocean a whole lot. I've got friends with boats, but they never invite me.
Well, this is amazing. Like, it's just so cool to see you had this idea and you worked through grading all the data and making it happen. It's awesome.
And I had done some other maps. I can show you some other options. I just did some maps for a friend, and this was just a little prototype trial run, and it looks like I've lost Coronado, but so this is like right here. So this was just an ocean, some different colors, then graving, but then I would take the larger road system and cut that out, and it gives it a whole different kind of look. And this is,
I can't really see it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So it's there we go. But it's like this. So I did 3, what were those, 20 by 20, Washington, DC, San Diego, and London for a friend. I think you can probably find those on my website. Those turned out really well. I'm excited for him to get them, but since they're so large, they won't make it till Thanksgiving. So hopefully he'll enjoy them. This was another version. This was, I think this is part of London. This looks like one of the river bends here.
Wow.
The same road system scale a little differently. Let's see, if you're interested in some of the other like applications, I can show you basically like living hinges or curve cutting that I'm able to do. So with a laser, one of the fun things you can do is if you go cutting certain patterns that are connected, you can make this any type of wood or acrylic bend, and there's different patterns you can cut and get see-through effects. So I played with these a lot. Some of the more interesting ones. You can get it where it's more of a bendy both ways. You can get different lighting effects. So I'm looking at using some of these for like lampshades and some other work. But I've also been able to use it in more practical ways. So like a little wooden clutch, just have a magnet and it just closes back up. Here. So I actually created a wine box design, or a bottle carrier. I'll be more generic. I just got a patent for it this summer, and so it's really meant to be regifted or kept and not thrown away. I'm trying to make things that are memorable and keepsakes. And this is just kind of the basic model. This is just an MDF that you can cut out any type of piece. But how this works. So you drop the bottle in, and these fold in, and then these two pieces. Should have brought a bottle. So the neck of the bottle comes out here and secures it, and then there's the little gifting tag, and this just slides right down the middle over the bottle. Oops. There's usually a bottle. So okay. So say you're going to like a party or something, and there's all these bottles of wine and nobody knows what came from anywhere. This is a nice way to, like, it's going to stand out, and they'll know, like, you can't take the bottle out without taking this tag off. And I also kind of developed some, I call them like little wine charms, some different options that basically they pop out and they can be engraved. And these flex, and these can just clip around the bottom of glass. So it's kind of a whole party all in one. There's different versions. Here's some more maps. This kind of combines everything. So I think I've got Chicago. I think that might be LA. But I can do this in different layers, different color combinations. These have been popular for weddings and surprisingly fraternities. So there's that application. Something else. So I'm a big reuse person, and after being stuck indoors and having to order things off of the internet for a while, I had a lot of cardboard. I have a lot of cardboard, and one nice thing you can do is you can cut it, and if you cut it thin enough, you can like here. If you run a light source in it, you get kind of this nice, is this showing up a little bit? You get this interesting effect. And you might have seen there's some of these out on the internet, like really large scales, and they're insanely expensive considering it's just cardboard, but it's a lot of production work. And I'm wanting to do some different, not just rounds. This is for another project, but like a large, like atomic heart shape or something like that. Done some other lamps. I think they have this is like a little candle holder. Pops out, and so there's just a lot of customizing options with a laser, and it's fairly quick and inexpensive. Oh, you're holding yours up too. So I
we have the orange version here.
Yeah. And here's some pieces, like there's translucent acrylics. I've been working on kind of a what you call it, I have two of the same pieces. A kaleidoscope version of the pride flag. I'm not a particular fan of the design, but it's just a lot of colors. And I was trying to think, okay, what's a nice way to present this, where it's just the gradation of rainbow. And part of this was creating like a hex, and then the next triangle being a bevel out of that. And then there's 6 sides, so you end up with kind of a really interesting shape of a lamp. But this is, get some nice effects from that. I can do modeling this. So I had a Morphe bed here. I needed the space, so I took it out, and I created I chopped up the foam mattress, and I made my own sectional. And so I created a little model first with all the cushions, so I could put it to scale in the other room. I have some friends that I've obviously not been doing any modeling for a while, but my friends just got a house, and I've been putting together structural models for them to take to the architects. And it just, it saves a lot of time, just having something to point and talk to, rather than looking at flat images. And a lot of people respond more to 3-dimensional design. Last night, it's getting Halloween season, so I've got an Ace of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland coming up. So this is just a fabric. I just use a multi-adhesive to get it. Oh, it's really stuck on here. But, I don't want to pull all the way off, but just this was 20 seconds to cut. But there's so many applications. So as far as materials, just like you've got all the different woods, solid woods, plywoods, all the stain combinations with those. And then acrylics come in glitter, mirror, translucent, opaque. There's some that look just like stone or have glitter. So I have a long list of design projects that I don't know if I'll ever get to, because I'm always coming up with more ideas as I go along. And once in a while, something will pop up that I'm able to combine those together. But I think that's most of what I've done. It's all pretty similar. Done some boxes. Here's I've done some work for Magic Castle in Hollywood. I created, this is like a mirror candle holder. It's engraved, so this would sit on their dinner or dining tables. Once they're getting fully back up and running, they've just been restaffing after everything. And this is for a friend that is a patent attorney, and he wanted, when people get a patent, to have this coin made, and he wanted a custom box. And so we worked together. This is just a variation, and so this is just a bayonet style. Sorry. So it just unscrews and whoops. No, there. It's not meant to be held that way. So the coin just, it sits in here, and this just flips over it and screws on. So those are a couple more things I've done. So hopefully this, getting back to inspiration, so hopefully this is inspiring maybe some new ideas for you. And I think that's it. If there's any more questions?
I posted your email and your webpage on the chat for everyone to grab.
Okay.
If there's any other questions someone might have? Okay, well, thank you, Erin, again. This was great. Thank you again for showing us your projects and how your process works.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, happy Design Week, everyone.